Sing tonight, huh, Paul? Paul's got an excellent reset. So, all right, and Nunez.
Hey, Dr. Finance.
Yes. Oh, hey, Dan.
I think we are ready to go.
Yep, we're ready to go.
You ready,
folks? So, welcome everyone. We have what it takes to $1 million business, Women's Entrepreneurship Day with Sharon Lechter. Welcome, Sharon. Appreciate you being here. Sharon, you're awesome. Thank you for spending the time with us today. Folks, can we get off the mics and give Sharon Lechter a great round of applause?
Thank you, Dr. Finance. I love you all back. I'm so happy to be here with Dr. Finance, Kate and Daniel. What an incredible group, and delighted to see so many of you being with us on a Friday here. So let's get the house rocking.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon, Kate put this thing together. So Kate's going to start the interview today, and I'll jump in when I get the cue. So go ahead, Kate. The floor is yours.
Awesome. I'm actually going to read the bio real quick. Thank you, Dr. Finance, for doing that. Kate, do you want to say something real quick?
No. Let's keep this it's a Women's Day today.
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Finance. I know usually you do Fridays, so we appreciate you sharing the stage today and then also introducing us to Sharon Lechter. We're honored for that, so we appreciate you for that. And I'm going to read Sharon's bio here. The bio, there's so much to this bio. I tried to capture as much as I could because there's just so many incredible things. But as an entrepreneur, international speaker, best-selling author, mentor, philanthropist, licensed CPA for 35 years, and a chartered global management accountant, Sharon Lechter is the premier expert for financial literacy and entrepreneurial success. In 1989, she joined forces with the inventor, because I hadn't heard this before, so I wanted to make sure this was added. The inventor of the first electronic talking book and helped him expand the electronic book industry to a multi-million-dollar international market. In 1997, she co-authored the international bestseller Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and has released 14 other books in the Rich Dad series over 10 years. As the co-founder and CEO, she built the empire into the world's leading personal finance brand. In 2008, she was asked by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to help re-energize the powerful teachings of Napoleon Hill. She released 3 best-selling books in the foundation, including Think and Grow Rich, 3 Feet from Gold, Outwitting the Devil, and her latest project, which is incredible for Women's Entrepreneurship Day, which is Think and Grow Rich for Women, released in June of 2014. And she was also featured in the 2017 movie Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. She is highly sought after mentor, has worked with major brands like Disney, Time Warner, even served 2 U.S. presidents. I know you mentioned that, Dr. Finance, as an advisor on the topic of financial literacy. She now lives in Arizona with her husband and business partner, who incredibly we got to meet, was an amazing person, Michael Lechter, a powerhouse in the area of intellectual property, as well as they love spending time with each other, especially in their dude ranch, Cherry Creek Lodge, which you can get off-grid and get recharged. So welcome, Sharon.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I'm so delighted to be here. And yes, I've just been around a long time. That's why the bio is so long. I'm delighted to be with you, particularly on today where we celebrate women. I think it's fantastic. So, Kate, thank you for the invitation. Dan, thank you so much for inviting me as well. And always happy to be with Dr. Finance. So.
Well, Sharon, we're honored again. I could not pick a better person to think of Women in Entrepreneurship Day. So we're super, super honored you having here today. So Sharon, my question is, what was the city or town you grew up in like?
Well, thank you, Kate. Well, I grew up, I was a Navy brat. So we were in Chicago for 5 years when my dad retired from the Navy. So we actually moved to Florida. I grew up in Florida. We moved there when I was 8, and it was Orlando prior to Disney World. So it was a very small town back then in the dinosaur days. And we lived in a very small house between my mom's beauty shop and my dad's used car lot. I had to go help at 10 years old, scrub out scrub out bathrooms between tenants for our real estate properties that we owned. So it was a constant entrepreneurial environment. My dad was the ultimate understanding assets, so I understand the value of assets. And so I grew up in that kind of an environment and actually did not want to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a sophisticated professional. So I got my degree in accounting and started public accounting in Atlanta, Georgia. So
Wow. Now, I can't believe you started working at 10. Kind of reminds me of myself. I call it a slave labor, cleaning 100 molds a day. But Sharon, what moment from your childhood are you most proud of?
my moment of my childhood. Well, I think there are lots of moments. Every night my dad would ask me, Sharon, have you added value to someone's life today? And that moment each night is what really created who I am today. He's been gone 16 years, but I still ask myself that every night. Have I added value to someone's life today? And my parents, I sit back and I used to ask my parents, what did you do to me that made me have the drive that I have? If I could bottle it, I'd be a billionaire. And it was that they always trusted in me choosing the right path. And they always told me I could be anything I wanted to be at a time when, I was one of the very first women ever hired by public accounting. And I think they also knew if I wanted something, I had to figure out how to get it. And I think that is something that I still try and teach parents today. If you really want to build self-confidence in your children, make sure they set a goal, they achieve it, and then celebrate. Don't do it for them. Don't be the enabler, be the mentor to help kids achieve.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And I love how you said you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but you're an amazing entrepreneur.
Well, it was when I was 25 in public accounting, and I realized that my life was not my own. I was working incredibly long hours, that all of a sudden my parents looked a lot smarter. And that's when I left public accounting and I became dedicated to being an entrepreneur for the rest of my life. So yes, I very much embraced entrepreneurship at the age of 25, started and sold a woman's magazine, started and helped build the talking book industry around the world, and then started the Rich Dad company. And we have multiple companies my husband and I own. So yes, entrepreneurship is in my blood.
Love it. Thank you so much, Sharon. Now, can you tell me about Rich Dad, Poor Dad? I have to say, I bribed my two kids to read it this last few months, and I gave them $50. So they have to finish the book. And now I'm not sure if I'm totally happy with it. One kid said, oh, I want to be an accountant. I was like, you don't want to be an accountant. You don't make money unless you own a big firm. Why can't you just be an entrepreneur? Again, that mother of me of like wanting to have the path for my kids. But tell me about the story behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad that changed a lot of people's lives.
Sure, absolutely. Well, number one, being an accountant for a few years was probably one of the best trainings I ever had, because I saw how companies did things correctly, and probably more importantly, I saw how things didn't get created correctly. So it was a great training ground. But I think with Rich Dad Poor Dad, we sold the Talking Children's Book Company and moved to Arizona, and we're talking now 30 years ago. And in 1992, a year after we moved here, our oldest son went off to college. And he came home in December in credit card debt. I was pretty mad at him, but I was more mad at myself because I thought I had taught him about money. And he'd gotten to campus and there was a table, free money, free t-shirt, free pizza, free money. So he got a lot of free money, he thought, and had a really good time his first semester in college. And he came home at Christmas time and told us he was in debt. We didn't even know he had credit cards. So we refused to bail him out. We don't always make the right decisions, but that one was. And he's as passionate about financial literacy as we are today. But that was December of 1992. And that's when I dedicated the rest of my career to financial literacy, financial education, and entrepreneurship education. Fast forward a few years, I've been working with school systems, trying to get them to wake up, hence my hair turning white, if you ever tried to work with school systems. And then one day my husband called me, and as you mentioned, he's an intellectual property expert. And he said, I met a guy today that has what you've been looking for. So the ladies in the room, if your husband called you and said he met a guy today that had what you've been looking for, I still remember where I was and thinking, okay, this sounds pretty kinky. What are you talking about? And he had met this guy, came into his office in Bermuda shorts and Hawaiian shirt with this idea for a board game. And his name was Robert Kiyosaki, and he had gone to see Michael about patenting the idea for a board game, Cash Flow. So I met Robert at the very first beta test for the game. I'm the only one that got out of the rat race, but I loved it because it was so consistent with what I was teaching, the materials I was developing for teaching the importance of buying, building, and creating assets. My favorite word on earth, everybody write it down, assets. That's the definition of how the way you become financially free. And so I volunteered with my experience with the talking children's book industry to help commercialize the game. And in that process, he told me he was going to charge $200 for it. And I said, that's pretty pricey. Maybe you should write a brochure that explains the philosophy. And in that process, we wrote that. He asked me to be his partner. He asked me to help him write that brochure. And that brochure was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Believe it or not, we never expected it to be a product in its own right. We never expected it to be the huge success that it was, over 7 years on the New York Times bestseller list. But it was the beginning of 10-year working relationship. We wrote 15 books together, and we're able to build the largest personal finance brand in the world around over 100 countries, over 50 languages. So it was kind of the beginning of all of it. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad kicked off the storm. In China, they called us the Purple Storm. So,
wow. So who come up with that title, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Sharon, was that Michael or you, or?
It was back and forth. It actually probably originated with Robert because the story of his poor dad was his biological father, who was the head of education for Hawaii, and then his rich dad was the guy that was the richest guy, and so it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the lessons that he learned as a kid. So we went back and forth. You know, a 4-word title has proven to be very, very strong. And always having that juxtaposition. I always tell people, if you can get the reader or the potential purchaser to relate to the book just from the title. So when you say Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you automatically in your mind say, I had the rich dad, or I had the poor dad, or I am the rich dad, or I am the poor dad. So it really pretty much allows people to engage with it immediately.
Thank you for sharing that. Sharon, I know you're so passionate about teaching financial literacy. And as an entrepreneur, I know a lot of us entrepreneurs, that's the last thing that people want to pay attention to. Everyone's building businesses, talking about strategy, but not really running their companies in the right way. We like to stick our head in the sun when it comes to money. So where you are, do you think, as far as promoting it to have everyone has financial literacy? Where do you think we are in the world?
Well, we're still pathetic. We have a few more states that agreed to require it for graduation, but again, we're only talking 8 or 9 states that require financial literacy as a separate class, and probably a total of 17 or 18 that require some sort of financial literacy. So we still are far from where we need to be. And no matter where I go in the world, no matter what the address is or what language they speak, everybody has the same issue. We're not teaching kids about money. And if we truly want to level the playing field for all children in the world, you know, we've heard the phrase, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Well, that's because they learn about it at home. And if we want every single child to have equal opportunity, no matter what their background, no matter what they look like, we will make sure that they're provided financial education so that they can learn how to take care of themselves. And it's something that is just criminal that we're not doing it. So it's definitely, I'm as passionate about it today as I was in December of 1992.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And earlier, you really highlight the word assets. Tell me, what is it that we're doing it wrong?
Well, we're taught in school to exchange time for money. If you are familiar with the cash flow quadrant, which was the second book that I wrote in the Rich Dad series, the left side of the quadrants are E and S, which stand for employee and self-employed. That's you working for money. If you don't work, you don't get paid. And that's, in essence, the problem with most people who never get ahead financially. The right side of the quadrant is B and I for business owner and investor. And that's where you are creating assets. And those assets become your employees. They work for you. And so instead of exchanging time for money, let's invest our time into buying, building, or creating income producing assets. Those assets will provide you infinite wealth. There's only so much money you can make on the left side as an employee or self-employed, because there's only so many hours in the day and only so many days in the week. You get exhausted. But if true wealth comes from owning assets on the right side as a business owner or investor, your ability to make income is infinite. And that's, you are financially free when the income from your assets exceeds your monthly expenses. It does not have to be millions of dollars. But most people have no assets. If they don't get out of bed, they don't get paid. And I'm here to shout from the mountaintops. It's not what you do for your paycheck that matters and determines your future. It's what you do with your paycheck. Yes, there's nothing wrong with being an employee, but take that income and redeploy it and invest it in assets that can grow for you.
Great advice. Now, aside from that amazing building wealth and building assets the right way, what advice would you give to an aspiring female entrepreneurs celebrating the Women's Entrepreneurship Day today?
Well, absolutely. And don't try to do it alone. I have the first book that I did with the Napoleon Hill Foundation is 3 Feet from Gold. And in it, we released the personal success equation. And in that, it talks about combining your passion and your talent, all right, P plus T. And that for me, my passion came from anger. I was mad we weren't teaching kids about money. My talent, I was a CPA and lots of publishing. And so I could have stopped there. And most of us do. We think it's all up to us. But true success comes when you find the right associations times A, the power of association. And so, for instance, I'm just honored to have my association with Dr. Finance and with you and Daniel. And so we continue to expand our horizon by new associations. And then times A, taking action. How many times? Okay, you're going to get busted, somebody out there. Do you know what you're supposed to do? You just don't do it. All right, because we hold ourselves back. We're fearful. We don't take the action we need. So you have your passion plus your talent times the right association times taking the right action plus an F for faith. Faith in yourself, faith in what you're doing, faith that it's needed and necessary, and faith that you will succeed. Now, too many of us, that faith is actually fear, and that's what holds us back. It paralyzes us. It keeps us from doing what we need to do to create success. And so I challenge all of you. I know Daniel's got the link. You can download a thing I have on the personal success equation. I want each of you to look at your passion, your talent, your power of association, the actions you're taking, and the faith. And when I start working with a new mentoring client, invariably it's the associations and the faith that they need the most help in. And when you have the right people around you, when you have those new associations, the right mentor, the right people on your team, it helps build your faith and your self-confidence. They go hand in hand, because when you have a bad day, they lift you up. And so I challenge each of you, think about your own power of association. Who do you need to meet? Who do you need to hire as a mentor? Who do you need to add to your team so that you stop doing the stuff you're not the best at, So you free up time to do where you excel, and then take action and have confidence that you're moving in the right direction.
Sharon, can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on you as a leader? Who's that person?
There's so many, I don't even know where to start. Certainly, I was a student of Napoleon Hill for many years, and I think I read Think and Grow Rich when I was 19. But as an adult, when I left Rich Dad, having the call from Don Green, who runs the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and having the opportunity to help reinvigorate the teachings of Napoleon Hill around the world has been an incredible honor that I just can't find the words to describe. So I will forever be thankful to Don for bringing me into the fold, helping me really highlight his teachings at a time when the world needed it the most.
Oh, thank you. Now, Sharon, what is that like working with two U.S. president as a financial advisor? Can you tell me that experience?
Well, it was a huge honor. When I made the decision to leave Rich Dad, I did not know what was in front of me. And I'd been there 10 years. We'd built the company. It was at the height of its success. And I made the decision to leave because we were no longer aligned on the direction of the company. And I did not know what the future held for me. And I tell people that sometimes you have to close the door for new doors of opportunity to open. And it was a few months later, I actually was probably having a good old fashioned pity party for myself, not knowing what the future held. And that's when I got the phone call from President Bush asking me to be on the first President's Advisory Council for Financial Literacy. What an incredible honor. I would not have had that call had I still been at Rich Dad. And a few months later, in March of 2008 is when I got the call from Don Green asking me to step into the Napoleon Hill Foundation, which has been such an incredible honor as well. Neither of those calls would have happened had I still been at Rich Dad. So I always challenge people to think about your life. Is there a door in your life that you need to close so other doors of opportunity will open? And that door may be on a position, on a business, on a relationship. And that's why I want you to look through the personal success equation. What is it that you need to make room for by closing a door on something else?
Thank you for sharing that. And Sharon, what was the most challenging experience you've had to overcome?
So usually if that is couched in the position of business, I would have one answer. But since you asked me that way, the most challenging thing that has ever happened to me in my life, it was almost 9 years ago when I lost my youngest son. And you're not supposed to outlive your children. It sent me into what I call my world of numb, living life in neutral. I was pretty much comatose for several years, still working, still speaking, but there were no ups, plenty of downs, and I almost thought about retiring, and had a lot of pushback from family and friends. And I think I even had my son in my ear saying, "Mom, get over it. There's more for you to do." And I share this story because today there's everyone listening. We all had things that stopped us in our tracks. It could have been a death, it could have been a divorce, a financial setback, a sickness. But you're still here, and you're still here for a reason. And what you've been through has made you stronger, and you can help other people going through it. So when I made the decision not to retire, I launched the Facebook page, the Play Big Movement. And it was to share with people that I was going to play big again. I was going to go back to playing with the Disneys and the Warners and creating and playing that bigger game. And the Play Big Movement stands for being number one in your field, living your legacy. Because your legacy is created every single day with every heart you touch and creating maximum impact. And so for everyone listening, this is exactly who you are. You deserve to play a bigger game. No matter what's happened to you, you are who you are today because of what you've been through, and you've survived it, and you can help other people going through it and give them a leg up, a hand up, not a handout.
Thank you for sharing that. And now, Sharon, think back to a time that you felt transformed, and how did you change and why?
So many times. I consider myself in a constant state of transformation. I think when I made when I was appointed to the President's Council, it took me to a higher plane of responsibility, of reputation, and therefore a higher level of responsibility to live a life of purpose and integrity. And I still feel that way today, particularly when I also got the call from the foundation. So because my actions would reflect on those people that I associate with. So it gives me the desire to live a life of grace and integrity and example.
Wow. Sharon, how do you do it all?
One day at a time. I think it's really important. The last chapter of Think and Grow Rich for Women, and one of the reasons I wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women, there's two main reasons. One was I was really tired of all the complaining and criticizing women were doing about the men who stood in their way. I happen to love men. I happen to love working with men. And I was really frustrated with all the women complaining and criticizing. And if you are a student of the law of attraction, that doesn't bring you good things. And so I wanted to change the dialogue of women to, instead of complaining and criticizing about the men who stood in our way, let's celebrate the progress we've made. Is there more progress to be made? Of course there is. But let's celebrate the progress we have made, and let's celebrate the men who have helped us along the way. And so that was one of the main reasons I wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women. The second one was the book itself follows the same chapter outline of the original Think and Grow Rich. And I added a 15th chapter called One Big Life, because I was really frustrated with women talking all the time about work-life balance. And I don't believe in it. I think the word balance belongs in the yoga studio, not in our lives, because we're always moving. We're always moving. And we have so many aspects of our life. You have your faith, you have your finances, your fitness, your family, you have your friends, you have your field, your business, right? It's not just your work life. You have one big life. And if things aren't going well in one area, you just make a decision to do something about it the next day. So too many times women worry about something that happened yesterday, or they worry about something that's happening, may or may not happen tomorrow. And my definition of the word worry is to pray for what you don't want. All right. And I happen to be a champion worrier. So that definition helped me stop myself. And I still have my worry storms, and I catch myself and say, okay, Sharon, instead of focusing on what I don't want to have happen, retrain my focus and let's focus on what I do want to have happen. So you change the negative thoughts to positive thoughts, and therefore you attract positive outcomes. And it really is magic. And so everybody, I want you to write it down. To worry is to pray for what you do not want. So stop it. And work-life balance, I say, is BS, and I don't say bad words. It stands before Sharon. So every time you hear it from now on, I want you to replace it in your brain, one big life. And I have a program that you guys can email me. A new technology that helps you create and set goals in all those aspects of your life. And it's in my Clubhouse notes. You can look at that. But it allows you to set goals and have a electronic capability and have that personal development that's determined specifically for you. It's all AI driven. And so reach out to me if you're interested in that. But we are just so proud of this company and what it's done and what it's helping people create in their lives by understanding that we need to focus on all aspects of our life.
Thank you for sharing that. I have Dan, did you write that? Worry? What does that mean? And BS before Sharon. So I'm taking notes, mental note. Now, Sharon, what is it like working with your wonderful husband, Michael? I have to say, Dan and I work together, and there's some moments there it's not very pleasant. So, what are some advice would you give for couples that work together? What are some of the things that you've learned over the years?
Well, thank you, Kate. Yes, we celebrated 41 years of marriage in September. And I always tell people with a little bit of tongue in cheek, almost all of them have been good. But, my people ask me what the secret of a long-term marriage is. And I says, you have to respect somebody as much as you love them. And yes, we have days that are not too good. But at the end of the day, I always will respect him and he will always respect me. And that gets us through everything. And we have certainly been through a lot together. I mean, many couples who lose a child don't survive it. And we were able to embrace each other and allow each other to grieve the way we needed to individually, which was very different. And so I think you have to invest in your relationship. And too many people are to give up too easily on the relationship. The lust is great, but the love combined with respect provides you the longevity.
What a great advice. Wow. Sharon, I have one last question for you before we hand it out to Dan. How do you want to be remembered?
Well, thank you, Kate. Well, I do a lot of one-on-one mentoring, which I started after we lost our son, and has helped fill a little bit of that hole in my heart. And I just love my clients. But I do business retreats at our ranch, Cherry Creek Lodge, that Dan mentioned. And at one of our exercises there, I have people do, what do you want your magazine cover to say about you? Which is kind of like, let's create what your legacy is. And my team actually came up with one for me, that my legacy is a legacy of creating legacies. And that's exactly who I am. I want to help everybody listening here to create a legacy of success. My success comes to me through the eyes of other people's success. Somebody who has taken something I've shared, some wisdom, some information, and created success in their lives brings me great joy.
Thank you so much, Dan. What a day, and thank you for sharing this 35 minutes time. Just thank you for sharing. I have no words, but I appreciate you. Dan, back to you.
Yes, no, that was incredible. Thank you, Kate. I just want to make sure that everyone can check more about Sharon. I'm going to hand it actually to Dr. Finance. He's going to run the Q&A. I know Diamond Diva is probably going to step in and give her incredible updates. But Sharon, thank you so much for being here. But if you want to know more about Sharon Lechter, you can go to ch.sharonlechter.com. You can actually look at the top. You can click the link ch.sharonlechter.com. Just click that link. It's pinned to the top. Really simple. Learn more about Sharon Lechter. I mean, she has their lodge. They're doing business retreats. There's so many parts about Sharon than just maybe things that you've known. So check out ch.sharonlechter.com. Tap the top. Give her a follow. Also, these incredible people up here. Thank you, everyone, for being on stage. Before I hand it to Dr. Finance, I just want to know, Sharon, the quote that you gave, would that be one of your favorite quotes, or do you have another one that you like to give to people? Because I remember you said something before. I just cannot remember what it was. But is there another quote that you give often during interviews?
Well, I actually have my clients do this too. I have quite a few Sharonisms, but I think some of the ones that are probably but it's not, is you are the CEO of your own life. I do that one a lot. You are the CEO of your own life, and we are where we are. You are where you are today because the choices you made before today. If you want something different in life, start making different choices. I also say assets are sexy. That's one of my more recent, the last couple of years. Assets are sexy because I want people to understand how important it is to buy, build, and create assets. And you are either in control of your money or your money is in control of you, is also something that I say all the time. And it's not what